Owen, thank you so much for joining us this week on BS in the NLL. We've got the Hot Rod and the Squatch here, and we were just talking. You're going to be going to the Bandits game this week?
Yeah, so I help coach a club team called the Allegheny Hellbenders, and they have a raffle every week, and it's $10 a ticket, and your name gets put in a raffle. And I bought my Owens ticket this year or this week, and I ended up winning. So me and Owen are going to the Bandits game tomorrow night.
Nice. Paul's actually coming up. I think he's got Bertrand's uncle is going to come up, and we're going to watch the Firewolves game. So I'm pretty excited about that. But what'd you think of the weekend? I mean, wow, I think it. We were talking earlier, one of the best weekends we've had of lacrosse as far as watching the games.
Yeah, this past weekend in the NLL, I mean, all these games were fast paced. It wasn't boring. There were two games that were kind of like, I won't say they were mismatched, but they could have been 1 goal games like the other four that were. But it was a great weekend of box lacrosse this past weekend, and every game I was sitting right at the edge of my seat watching. I was like, well, this could go either way. But yeah, it was a great weekend of lacrosse finally, and it started to show the teams are starting to finally come together in the second half of the season, and I think it's going to be a nail biter right towards the end.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. I'm really impressed with the West Coast. Like the way the West Coast teams right now are doing is impressive. And then to see, Calgary is really coming to their own, but Saskatchewan, I mean, they struggled offensively, and they've had their moments this season. But I mean, Calgary's defense is really good. So I mean, they're tough, and I wonder, was it really Saskatchewan struggling, or is Calgary's defense really that good? They've been on a tear lately.
Yeah, from watching that Saskatchewan and Calgary game, Del Bianco was on point again, and he was outletting the ball like crazy. He had one to Tanner Cook that was it was a rainbow pass. Tanner caught it. He didn't even have to move his stick. Calgary was on point. Saskatchewan, they looked lackluster again. Um, they weren't there. Calgary was just on point. That's all I can say. They
Yeah.
showed up, they came, they played, and they executed. Where Calgary or Saskatchewan, I'm sorry, was just like they're just out there to play lacrosse, not to win. Just hey, we're here, let's have fun.
Yeah, and I mean
Yeah,
that's kind of Saskatchewan. The knock on Saskatchewan is they don't always have that fire that they play with, and
yeah,
but I mean Calgary and like you talked about Del Bianco, I think that is such a huge part. The transition and when they're scoring, the way he passes and he's donated what is it like $6,000 I think to a fund because every assist. So I think he's got 6 assists.
yeah,
Yeah, that he donates to this Calgary Sports Fund. Me and Owen talk about, and I mean that's just it's he is on point. And Bouquet, he definitely did not. He's not going to tell you he played great. He had an off night.
yeah. He had a very off night. It was just I don't know. I can't. The way that Calgary played, they would have made any goalie have an off night that night because their transition was just killer. Like it was ridiculous how much that their defensive transition guys got behind Saskatchewan's defense. Almost every play, I was like, Jesus shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. Their transition is amazing. And when you look at it, really, it was a close game until, the third quarter. So the second half started and they kind of ran away with it. And I mean, Saskatchewan scored once at the beginning, but then Calgary just pulled away. I mean,
Yeah,
Pace, Cook,
yeah. Pace was on fire.
yeah. And when you've got somebody playing like that, so if we go up to the point leaders, and that's when you look at it though, he's still, you know, Tanner Cook ended up with the goal lead. It's absolutely
Yeah,
insane. Calgary, I think, is the dark horse in the West. I've said it a bunch of times to everybody. I really think they're going to surprise everybody. When they came on San Diego there, and the week before when they lost to San Diego, it was only because they basically took the first half off, and then after that they came
yeah.
back and beat San Diego, and they really have been on fire. I mean, like you see Salama, their transition players are always getting up the floor. Cornwall, uh,
Yep.
Courier, Josh, and Zach are playing amazing. Del Bianco plays amazing. They spread the ball so well.
So last week it was Zach. This week it was Josh. Josh had an amazing game. His transition was phenomenal this past weekend. And like you said, it's the second half of the season now, and Calgary is they're they're starting to gel as a team, and it showed in this last game that they're taking that step forward. So when they face the Seals. We'll see what happens. So like the Seals play tonight, I think. I'm not too sure, but
Yeah,
we'll see what happens when they play the Seals again. So
yeah,
I
it's
mean, the West is starting to come into their own. Where I think the East peaked early, and I think they're starting to come down to even it out. But we'll see what happens.
yeah, it's yeah. So Calgary plays tonight against the Warriors, and then the Rush and the Seals play at 10:30 too. So those are the two games that are
Yep.
tonight, all West Coast games. Everybody in the East seems to be playing tomorrow. But yeah,
Yep.
Vancouver. I mean, I really don't. I'm not going to say they can't beat Calgary. I just don't see. Calgary's been playing too well, and Vancouver's been playing much better, and they're playing great. Sean Evans has helped him a lot, and like you, Keegan Ball, he was on point, but I don't know. Calgary's just too good right now, and I think what's more
Yeah.
important really is that San Diego and Rush game, because in the standings everybody's close in the West. That West is very tight. It's not at all like our Eastern Conference now that's kind of starting to settle where you got a couple of guys that are, a couple teams that are pulling ahead. You've got 3 7-win teams and then the next one's four.
Yeah. Like the East, the top three teams are pulling away, and the West, they're all in it besides Vancouver, but they're all. But the thing, is, like I said, Vancouver last week they lost to Panther City by one. So are they? They could have a strong showing and win, 4 or 5 straight. But I mean, are they going to? Probably not.
No, they're
I think they're not.
no,
They're not.
there's so much parity in this league. It's
Yeah,
crazy though because like you see that even, Vancouver comes on and they almost beat them. It's just absolutely insane.
it is.
Because any night they could all score. Like we were talking before, when you look at this Albany, um, New York game, like they're towards the bottom of the standings, and like you're like New York's offense has been terrible. Uh, or I'm sorry, Albany's offense has not been playing very good. But then the second half of that game, when you look at it, they had 9 goals.
Yeah, what the second or the third and fourth period, they outscored New York like crazy, and like that was almost a game you almost wanted to turn off. Then you come back to it, and they're like, wait a minute, and it turned into a great. It was 14-12.
Yeah,
Like I said earlier, stop one guy on New York. It's Jeff Teat, 51. Stop him. If you stop him, you might win the game. And they couldn't. I mean, is he that good that you can't stop him?
yeah.
I
You,
mean,
you see right there, he had 7 goals.
yeah, 7 goals.
Yeah. So I mean, it really is that McCardle though he's taking a ton of shots. He's one of those. He's a volume shooter though, and that's when you notice like those volume shooters is when they're not, and
Yeah,
it's
but yeah,
yeah,
McCardle went off too. So I
yeah.
mean,
That's what I mean is once he
uh,
gets going, but like Ethan Walker, he's one of those guys that has to score more. Like him, Tanner
yeah,
Thompson, those are the guys you can always count on McCardle to get on the board a little bit. But as you look through the stats, I mean, you see it was just if Albany could put together a fourth quarter, an entire game or even 3 quarters like they played the fourth quarter. But
yes,
it's really the big thing with Albany is they rely heavily on their goaling, and they have had some questions when it comes to Dougie, and it's not the defense hasn't even been stepping up quite as well to cover him. But when it's not been you know it's not been great. They've had to pull Dougie a couple times. He had the flu, and he hasn't really bounced back since then.
no, like he last year he was a stellar goalie, and this year both their goalies are kind of like hit and miss, and it's it's hard as a coach. You pull a goalie, put another one in, and he doesn't do good, so you try to like rotate him through, and neither one of them are on top. They're not on top of their game right now, and that can hurt you as a team, and it shows it because I mean, look at it. I mean, they put up 12 points against New York. New York's not the best. They got a decent defense, and they got a stellar goalie with Orleman.
Yeah, but
um,
I mean, look what Toronto did to New York last week. They set a record with 22 goals.
yeah,
So I
but
mean, we got to
Toronto's a
take.
different kind of offense too, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but that's what I mean is like I think this week is going to be so telling for that Albany Vegas game because
Yes.
did Albany score as much as they did at the end of that game because New York's defense is that bad or because Vegas has got a good D?
Yes, they do. They have a very good D.
Yeah,
Vegas does.
and Kells has been playing great, so I mean that they've definitely got that going for him. I know Bertrand's been on fire. Paul's super excited about that. I don't know if he's going to. I don't know if Paul knows what he's getting into sitting next to us, but it'll be interesting because at least Bertrand will have somebody cheering for him, so it won't be just on my side yelling. It'll
Yeah,
be
so I think. I mean, we'll see what happens tomorrow night with that game.
yeah,
That's tomorrow night, right?
yeah. That's tomorrow too. So
Yeah,
everybody in the East is playing on
tomorrow.
yeah, playing tomorrow. So tomorrow in the East, you're going to the Buffalo game. You've
Yeah,
got Georgia playing. Got us.
and we're back.
I can hear you.